Yeah, the unlicensed game's finished, isn't it? I mean, come on. All the names are gone now, isn't it? Who is there now doing the unlicensed fighting? There ain't no one really, is there? You know what I mean? Yeah, Donny Adams really, and Roy Shaw, that really kicked it off. I mean, Donny Adams has had loads and loads of fights, hasn't he? Do you know? But really, it was Donny Adams, Roy Shaw, and then Roy Shaw, Lenny McLean. I mean, Roy Shaw beat Lenny McLean in the first fight, and then after that, Lenny bashed Roy up every time, didn't he? You had Colombo. Colombo, his name's really Steve Richards, but Colombo, great fighter, Colombo. He wasn't afraid of no man. He'd get in the ring with anybody, you know what I mean? I see him sparring down the Beckett with Roy Shaw. You know, he was what he was, you know what I mean? Backhand and all that game. He was game, Colombo. Yeah, Lloyd Wolfram, black guy, great fighter. Shaka, I don't know, Shaka went missing, yeah? I mean, there was a big, I mean, I can't, there's something there that ain't right, yeah? When Shaka beat Cliff Fields on points, there was something not right there. I've never seen Cliff Fields take a dive for money, yeah? Never, but I never ever thought that Shaka would be able to beat Cliff Fields because Lenny McLean beat Shaka, you know, and I never thought that Lenny could beat Shaka in a million years. So whether or not Shaka being got hold of, I don't, anyway. Then there was Red Rupt. When he Red Rupt, he won a bad fighter one in his days. I mean, really, they should never put him in with Cliff Fields. Never, ever. I mean, Cliff Fields just bashed him up, you know. He really did bash him up, Cliff, you know. And even when he fought Lenny twice, you know, Cliff Fields really bashed him up bad twice, you know. One of the best fighters there was Waldron, wasn't it? Johnny Waldron. Johnny Waldron was a good fighter, mate. Good. He was a light heavyweight, wasn't he? But you know, he fought heavyweight, but he was a good fighter, John. He's still alright. He's still around, Johnny Waldron. He's still around today. I love to be able to get hold of Johnny Waldron, mate. You know, he would give a great story, John. You know, and then there was this guy. What was his name? Lou Yates. Lou Yates come out of nowhere, didn't he? One day, you know, everybody was talking about Lou Yates, you know, with Roy Shaw at the club with Roy Shaw, which I can't see that really happening. And then Billy Blundell, Bill Blundell at a club, Lou Yates put it on Billy Blundell, and I can't never see that. I can't see Billy Blundell taking any grief from any doorman. He wouldn't get out of the club alive, you know what I mean? He might get out of the club alive, but he wouldn't be able to go. That'd be his last walk he'll ever have coming out of the club, because Blundell wouldn't muck about. He was a proper dangerous man, Billy Blundell. You know what I mean? I love Bill. I love Billy Blundell. I mean, you know, from the time I met Bill in Maidstone prison, and see Bill sparring with my mate Vicky Curley, and Bill in the bag and all that, you know, Bill was an handful, you know what I mean, Billy Blundell, and a nice guy, you know, proper nice guy. You know, who else was there about in my times? There was me. I mean, I've had quite a lot of fights. Dorman, most of my fights were with Dorman. Yeah, there's a lot of doormen can have it, you know, can have it. When you get in the ring, it's a different kettle of fish, isn't it? You know what I mean? And I beat quite a few doormen, mate. I think I was about 10, 12 doormen that I had fights with, you know, and I might have beat them all. I might have drew one, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, most doormen that I fought, I beat, yeah. I loved the unlicensed fighting, especially when I was with Jimmy Tibbet. I mean, I loved it, you know. He would always give you confidence. He would always make you feel good. And when you go and see Warren, Frankie Warren, you go and talk to Frank. Frank wasn't really interested with me fighting Lenny, really. But what can you do? I mean, if you try your hardest to get posters out, and you think you're going to fight, then it doesn't happen. It don't happen. But I tell you another good fighter, mate. Paddocks, the two Paddocks, Sid Paddock and Kevin Paddock. I mean, Kevin Paddock's still alive today. I know, for a couple of years now, I've been saying that I want to do a podcast with Kevin Paddock, but it ain't easy to do a podcast with someone where his wife's not very well. His wife's got Alzheimer's disease. So what Kevin Paddock said, which was quite true, what he said was, Ray, when I was doing the unlicensed fighting and when I was doing the pro fighting, I was always out. I was always out enjoying myself, getting drunk, as I said, while the wife was indoors. I was out having a good time, gallivanting about, mate. And when I got back, we were still together. We've been together ever since, yeah? But now she's ill, it's my time to look after her, mate, to give her something back to her, yeah? And really, I ain't got time to do an interview. We was trying to work out how I can do an interview on the phone with him, but he's not too clued up. We tried to do it on a laptop or a computer, but he ain't got that. His nephew's got that, but it's quite odd. It's quite odd. I should imagine if I drove down to Southampton with Terry Haley, because his boats and all that. If I drove down there and maybe said to look, I'm in Southampton, let's make a meet, even if it was like 10, 15, 20 minutes, just to have a quick chat, but I don't know. It's a shame. It's a shame because there's so much Kevin can say about me unlicensed fighting, and all that, but he said to me that, which is true, he said, mate, I said, Roy Shaw beat you, didn't he? He said, yeah, mate. He said, look, I underestimated Roy Shaw. He said, Roy Shaw was in his 40s. He said, but mate, he was so fit, Ray. He was so fit and so strong. Because I remember sparring with Roy Shaw down to Beckett. And it must have been about the same time because Roy hadn't been out of prison very long. And Roy Shaw kept himself in good shape. Everybody, I mean, I was one of the people that come out of prison, you get yourself in good shape. And Roy was in good shape, And Kevin said, I didn't really train for Roy Shaw. He said, I'm not making excuses, Ray. He said, but I didn't really train for Roy Shaw. And I thought it'd be a walkover, being at the age he was. I was young. Being that it was the age he was, 40 odd years of age, I thought he'd blown out, yeah? But he didn't. Right. He said that, he reckons that Roy Shaw was on him 24/7. He didn't leave him alone in the ring, Roy Shaw beat him on points, didn't he? You know what I mean? Kevin was quite gutted about that. He said if he ever fought Roy Shaw again, he'd make sure he was fit. And he said, not disrespecting Roy, he said if he got himself fit, he would beat Roy. And it's like when Kevin Paddock fought Lenny McLean, I was there with Jimmy Tibbett and a few other people, yeah? And Kevin Paddock said that when he fought Lenny, he was 95% fit. And he said that Lenny come out of the ring like a lunatic. I can remember Lenny coming out of the ring and putting his fist on top of Kevin Paddock's head. As he done that, Kevin Paddock bobbed him with whack, give it him. He said that Lenny was big. He said Lenny was about, 18 and a half, 19 stone. He said, and I just let him wear himself out. He said, and he just blew out, he blew out. Even though he didn't give up, he blew out. He said, I will beat him on points. He said, but he just blew out. He was too big. roids, too powerful, just muscular, burns everything, doesn't it? You know, burns your lungs out and everything. You know, he said, yeah, I beat Lenny quite easy. But I used to like Kevin Paddock. I mean, Kevin Paddock never ever bigged himself up. Never bigged himself up. His brother, Sid. Sid, I always thought Sid lost his leg under a bus. Kevin Paddock told me no, he didn't lose it under a bus. A woman or something hit his leg, took his leg off. You know, his leg was down the road. It was hit over there. His leg was down the road. He was to the right or left to the leg. His leg was there. You know, and they couldn't put it back again. And you know, I mean, someone like Sid Paddock, who was heavyweight, and he was really, really into training. He was like a man that loved his training, Sid. You know, for a man like, he said, Kevin said that he still trained. After losing his leg, he got a synthetic leg. He said he still trained, Sid. He said, but it went. He gave up, yeah. The money he got out of the accident, Sid, he bought a club. And he just, I think, as he was saying, Kevin, he used to drink a bottle of vodka and maybe 4, 5, 6 pints of Foster's or lagers every night. A bottle of lager, you know. He said, I just give up, didn't he? He just give up. You can imagine someone so fit, and someone takes your leg off you, and it's like, oh, you know what I mean? It must be terrible, mate. It must be terrible. Especially your leg, you know, even your arm. Imagine that, eh? But anyway, he give up, and he just, you know, his heart blew up, you know. He just, too much drink, too much drugs, just his heart blew up. But Kevin Paddock, Kevin's now about 21 stone. He's funny, Kevin. You talk to him, he's so funny, and he's got an accent, and he that South accent, that accent, you know, Southampton accent, and he's funny, man. He's so funny. You talk to him, he's like, you got to remember he was a middleweight, yeah? He was a middleweight, and you know, and now he's about 19, 21 stone, something like that. He said he's blown up, you know. He's only short as well. He's short, Kevin Paddock. He's not 5'8", 5'9", do you know what I mean? And he's 19, 20 stone. He's a big man, yeah? But I would love to get down there to see him. You know, when I talked to him on the phone, I tried to record it. I said, look, I'm going to record you. I tried to record him, but I couldn't get it. My mate, Matt Trollope, the guy who wrote my book, the book writer, he said he could do that, yeah. We got to try, but how would it go? How would that go on YouTube? Maybe if I just played his voice and put him, you know, doing a bit of sparring or something, maybe that'd be okay. You know what I mean? Rather than just having a blank screen and him talking, yeah. So I'm going to talk to Matt Trollope about that, you know. So we could edit like boxing and bits and pieces like that. It'd be great. It'd be really good. You know, we'd do videos of it and have him talking. That'd be better. I'm going to definitely do it. Definitely do it. But Kevin, he was, and Sid, me and Sid, I drew with Sid, and I drew with Kevin Paddock, yeah. When I fought Sid, I'm definitely sure that it was at the Cat's Whiskers Streatham, yeah, for Eddie Richardson. And Sid was like, good fighter, mate. He fought Gardner, didn't he? I know John O'Gardner beat him. I think it's John O'Gardner stopped him in 6 rounds. But he was still a good fighter, Sid. You know, and I got in with him and drew. I was well happy. I was well happy because Sid could hurt. He was a good banger, mate. And Kevin Paddock, mate, he could take he could take a whack, Kevin. I mean, you got 8-ounce gloves, right? And I hit Kevin Paddock on the chin, on the top of the head, quite a few times, and hard, you know. And Kevin just shook his head, you know. And I talked to Kevin about that. He went, do you know what, Ray? All the fights I've had, I've never, ever hit the floor. That's good, isn't it? To say that, you know what I mean? He's never hit the floor. You know, and when I when you get to know someone and you get to know the person how he is. And when I used to talk to Cliff Fields, and he used to work with me and Jimmy Tibbert, and respect I have for that man, you know, because he never said too much. He didn't have to. He was very, very intimidating as a man, yeah. Funny laugh he had. But when he used to come with us and do that, and I was sparring with Cliff, you know, and he was a proper hard man. And when Lou Yates disrespected Cliff Fields because he was dead, disrespected him, Lou Yates, by saying that when he walked into the pub and Cliff Fields see him walk into pubs, and evidently Lou Yates, said something to Cliff, and Cliff turned his back and faced the bar. Believe me, being that I know Cliff Fields very well, yeah, Cliff Fields would never ever say that he turned round and faced the bar, because Cliff Fields ain't like that. Whatever you said to Cliff Fields, to his face, you'd have to have a fight with him. You'd have to fight him, mate, because he wouldn't stand for that crap. I mean, you know, that's exactly how Cliff Fields went to pot, didn't he? You know, he was always drinking. You know, so I was told one story that he was over the park and he was drinking, and some travellers started on him, and he had a row with them. But then he went to the pub, and they walked into the pub, and it kicked off again in the pub. And one of them kicked something, a glass at Cliff, and a splinter of the glass went in his eye, and it blinded Cliff, you know. And, well, when I see pictures of Cliff Fields in a calf, what Matt Ledger put up, I went, oh, I couldn't believe it, mate. You know, it killed me to think that geezer, Cliff Fields, went to pot like that, you know. Yeah, he was like a proper man, wasn't he? He was a massive guy that could really have it. He could have it in the streets, on the cobbles, and he could have it like in the ring. And it was the same with Lenny McLean. Lenny McLean worked on all the doors, worked on loads of doors, hippodromes and places like Stringfellas and other sorts of places, and was a handful, you know, was a handful of doors, you know, could really march on. But in the ring, it was different, you know, it was a different thing. I know Frankie Warren loved Lenny because he was his cousin, wasn't he, related, and he brought Lenny forward, and so did Lenny bring Warren forward as well. They both brought each other forward, but Lenny had the name, didn't he? He had that name, and he brought unlicensed fighting to the front. Him and Roy Shaw were the two people that brought unlicensed fighting to the front. I think without Lenny McLean and Roy Shaw and Donny Adams, I don't think that the unlicensed fighting would have kicked off like it did, you know. Obviously, you still had Columbo's and you still had Lou Yates. And even though I didn't even heard of Lou Yates, I've never seen Lou Yates fight, but anyway. And then you had Lloyd Waltham, you know, and there was some good Brian Hall. Brian Hall, I thought, campaigner. There's a lot of campaigners, loads and loads and loads of campaigners, you know, loads. I've got a book, yeah. Well, I must have 20 to 30 names of unlicensed fighters who was fighting in them days. A lot of fighters I've never really heard of, you know what I mean? But that Paul Fitzgerald was my pal. Paul Fitzgerald was my pal. I'd love to be able to talk to Paul. Paul Fitzgerald was on the same thing as me, yeah? He's as a diamond Paul. He had big curly hair, like a Jamaican, yeah. Paul Fitzgerald, yeah, man. Steve Jarman, yeah, some good names there, man. Some good names. I remember Mickey May, fucking hell, you know, big names. Yeah, fucking hell. You know, like you remember those people, yeah? And most of them are dead. They're mostly dead. And I say, like, a lot of them were as old as me or a little bit younger than me, yeah? But Stevie Jarman, he comes from over my way, I think. Paul Fitzgerald, he comes from over Lewisham way, that way. You know, and it's a shame that they've never ever sent me a little comment or something, you know. But Paul Fitzgerald, we go back from day one, really, doing the unlicensed fighting with Jimmy Tibbet, yeah. Crikey, man. I like to get to what's his name? Who's the other? I mean, I always get his name mixed up. What's his name now? The one that owned the pubs, on the door. I can see him, but names go out my head, yeah. I'll be talking for a little while and it just click, it'll come in, you know. But some of the fighters that, when I used to go down to Harvey Social Club, you know, and fight down there, and, you know, some good fighters down there, mate, you know, and I used to fight. I mean, me and Jimmy Tibbet together were good. You know, we used to go everywhere, you know, to shows and all that, and just sit there and look, you know, and yeah. And for people to jump in, I mean, when I fought that big black guy, and I bit his ear off, his earlobe off, yeah. And there's all jumps in the ring, and it was going, "You want a boss? You're the governor," and they love all that, don't it? You know. Who was I trying to get his name? He had the pubs, didn't he? Oh, fucking hell. That was terrible, wasn't it? And he was a proper face, yeah, proper face. I'm trying to get it. Sorry about that. I apologise. But anyway, you know, it started off with Lou Yates. I never, as I say, I never heard of Lou Yates. I've never heard of him. All the fights that I've had, I've never heard of Lou Yates. The only time I really heard of Lou Yates is when he fought Roy Shaw. And I think, I'm not quite sure if he beat Roy Shaw for a cut oil. I don't know, he got disqualified for something. I'm not quite sure what it was, but I can't see him getting disqualified because the unlicensed fighting was murder. I remember in my times that if the referee, right, if the referee says to you, right, you know, 3 times and that's it. You know, you can't do, 3 times is enough, you know, and you're not a guy, and you know what I mean? You can't, he's away. 1 warning, you've got 2 more warnings. By the time the 3rd warning comes, the keys are smashed to pieces anyway, you know. I used to do a lot of that. I used to do some like elbows, nutting people, biting people. That, you know, I used to love it. Yeah, that was part of it. Oh, what? Do you know? I can see his face. You know. Had the pubs, didn't he? Had the pubs. He was a bouncer his own pub. Warshaw beat him, didn't he? Wow, man. Fucking big name. Big, powerful name. Look at me, man. I can't. I've disrespected him, really, by not remembering his name. You know what I mean? If I see it, oh, why did you not know that? You know what I mean? But anyway, I took over because that night I thought the big black guy was the night that he was supposed to fight Lenny McLean. Lenny McLean never showed up at that fight. Who was it? Oh, sorry, mate. He dead. He died. Roy Shaw beat him. Roy Shaw beat him as well. Oh, what? Anyway, I apologise. I'm like that big punch, you know. Gone, mate. Names. And I'll turn it off and his name will come up straight away. But anyway, bang, bang, well, and good morning, yeah?